Hello, all you freedom-loving people. Welcome to another episode of Front Page. I'm your host, Scott Cameron Goulet. House Speaker Nancy Pelosi announced that she would step down from leadership of House Democrats after the Republicans won the majority of the House. This may be the first step to her official retirement. The Republicans announced an investigation into Hunter Biden on the first day they got their majority, which apparently is going to involve the entire Biden family. The wave of layoffs at high-tech companies is affecting revenue for the state of California. Next year, California will face a budget deficit and will have to cut some of its benefits. And Ukrainian President Zelensky refuses to admit that the missile that hit Poland was fired by Ukraine. Such a statement disappointed Ukraine's allies. Okay, let's get into it. Nancy Pelosi's time has come to an end. On Thursday, November 17th, after 20 years of leading the Democratic Party, U.S. House Speaker Nancy Pelosi said that she will step down as House Democratic leader, but she will continue to represent her San Francisco district in the House. Her decision comes a day after Republicans officially won control of the chamber in the midterm elections. Pelosi, who was elected to Congress in 1987 and who became the highest-ranking woman in congressional history when she was elected House Minority Whip after the 2002 midterm elections, became House Minority Leader in 2003, and she was promoted to Speaker of the House in 2006 after Democrats regained the majority in the House. After the U.S. Republicans won control of the House, there was much speculation about where Pelosi would go. Drew Hamill, a spokesman for Pelosi, said that Pelosi's phone has been ringing off the hook lately because of the many people who have expressed concern. Hamill confessed that since November 16th, she's been monitoring the counting of the final state election results, and she was overwhelmed by calls from colleagues, friends, and supporters. The departure of Pelosi at 82 years old is expected to usher in a major reshuffle of the House Democratic leadership. Pelosi's leadership team includes Majority Leader Steny Hoyer of Maryland and Democrat James Clyburn of South Carolina. They are all over 80 years old. Following Pelosi's announcement, Hoyer, who currently serves as House Majority Leader, said that he will not run for leadership in the next Congress. Hoyer said in a statement, "It's time to produce a new generation of leaders." He added that he will support Representative Hakeem Jeffries. House Democrats will hold leadership elections at the end of this month, and Pelosi's announcement is likely to set off a wave of leadership bid announcements. Representative Hakeem Jeffries, a Democrat in New York, could succeed Pelosi as House Democratic leader. Jeffries would become the first African American to lead the Democratic Party in Congress. There's speculation that Pelosi's decision is related to the attack on her husband, Paul Pelosi. At least that's what she said last week. But there are still some mysteries surrounding the attack that have not yet been solved. For example, who opened the door when the police showed up? The Justice Department's indictment against David DePepe, the man who apparently attacked Paul Pelosi, says that the officer who responded to Paul Pelosi's 911 call knocked on the door. Then the two officers who approached the door activated the body cameras that they were carrying. The door opened and the two officers saw the foyer of Pelosi's home. Mr. Pelosi was in a long-sleeve shirt and David DePepe was in shorts, running shoes, and a sweatshirt. And David DePepe and Mr. Pelosi were holding a hammer together, but it didn't indicate who opened the door. Later, NBC reported that a source who had seen the body cam footage said it clearly showed Paul Pelosi open the door. Information obtained by the Epoch Times also indicated that Paul Pelosi opened the door. Assistant District Attorney Allison Garbutt Macbeth's November 1st filing in the case also clearly states that Mr. Pelosi opened the door with his left hand. In a motion to detain Pepe, San Francisco District Attorney Brooke Jenkins' office also said that Paul Pelosi opened the door to Pelosi's California home after police arrived early October 28th. To date, there has been no public statement from local San Francisco law enforcement or the Department of Justice as to why there are so many discrepancies between the various accounts of the events of that night. Why would the DOJ want to cover up the fact that it was Paul Pelosi who opened the door? Republicans plan to take numerous actions after winning control of the House in the 2022 midterm elections. Republican House members held a news conference on Thursday, November 17th, and the first investigation they announced was into Hunter Biden. The Republicans indicated that Joe Biden was actively involved in overseas business deals with his son Hunter. Republican Representatives James Comer and Jim Jordan hosted the press conference. Comer said, citing whistleblower evidence, that Joe Biden was directly involved in Hunter's international business dealings. Committee Republicans released a report on November 17th outlining their findings, claiming that they've uncovered evidence of federal crimes committed by or to the benefit of the Biden family. Comer said this committee will evaluate the status of Joe Biden's relationship with his family's foreign partners and whether he is a president who is compromised or swayed by foreign dollars and influence.
Today we're going to provide you with something that you all aren't used to with respect to congressional investigations, and that's evidence. Committee Republicans have spoken with multiple whistleblowers from numerous schemes involving the Biden family, reviewed Hunter Biden's laptop, and received documents of previously unknown transactions. What we found are business plans aimed at targets around the world based on influence peddling, including with people closely tied to foreign governments like China and Russia. We also found plans based in the United States where the Biden family swindled investors of hundreds of thousands of dollars, all with Joe Biden's participation and knowledge.
Citing media reports, Comer said more than 150 transactions from the Biden's business dealings have been flagged by U.S. banks through filings of suspicious activity reports, or SARs. Committee Republicans have pressed the Treasury Department to release the SARs records, but the department has refused. They'll continue to pursue those records in the new Congress, Comer said, when the Republicans hold subpoena power. Comer is the new chairman of the House Oversight Committee, and Jordan of Ohio is expected to soon become chairman of the House Judiciary Committee. At a news conference, Comer said that he believes the Oversight Committee has lost much of its credibility in recent years, which he blamed on Representative Adam Schiff. Schiff currently chairs the House Intelligence Committee. Without the cooperation of the Justice Department, congressional investigations tend to be loud in terms of noise, but without much actual action. The big investigation into Hillary's Benghazi scandal back in the day is an example of this. But this year is a little different because the Democrats have just set the precedent that is the January 6th committee. The January 6th committee issued subpoenas to Republicans to turn over their cell phone, bank, and communication records. Those who turn them in tend to leak them out a little. Those who refuse to turn them in are sentenced for contempt of Congress. This gives the Republican Party a good reference. They can totally follow it this time as well. Elon Musk recently issued an ultimatum to Twitter employees to work in a new iron fist and long hours and high-intensity environment. Yesterday, Thursday, November 17th, was the deadline for employees to make their own choices, and some of them decided to take their severance pay and leave. This leaves it uncertain as to which ones will go into the office. According to a memo published by the BBC, Twitter is temporarily closing its offices effective immediately and will only reopen on the 21st of November. The message reads, "Hi, effective immediately, we are temporarily closing our office buildings and all badge access will be suspended. Thank you for your flexibility. Please continue to comply with company policy by refraining from discussing confidential company information on social media, with press, or elsewhere." Mainstream media says that the number of employees who refused to sign the pledge was much higher than expected, which could jeopardize Twitter's daily operations, but that may not be the case. There must be a lot of employees who decided to quit. Previously, Twitter employees were not required to work in the office. They worked from home. Twitter hires leftist employees who are very lazy and political. The entire company atmosphere is a leftist atmosphere. For Musk, such centrists are very resistant. Now, Musk is demanding a move toward neutrality away from leftist censorship and control, and he's also demanding that employees not fish in troubled water and be abusive, both of which are unacceptable to these leftist employees. But such employees, even if they do stay, have no positive effect other than wasting money. Musk wrote on Twitter, "The best people are staying, so I'm not super worried." And now that California tech companies are laying off employees, it should not be too difficult to find replacements. Hours after Amazon confirmed that it was implementing its biggest layoffs of the year, networking giant Cisco announced on Wednesday after the company's earnings call that it would lay off more than 4,000 workers, joining dozens of big tech companies that have cut jobs. Cisco said in a filing on Wednesday that the company plans to cut jobs and to downsize its real estate in the coming year in an effort to rebalance its business. Cisco actually had a good year. Its first quarter earnings beat Wall Street's expectations with revenue that was up 6% year over year to $13.6 billion. Cisco shares then rose more than 3% in after-hours trading. Despite strong overall earnings, Cisco said in its filing that it is planning a restructuring that will involve laying off employees in the next fiscal year. The job cuts will resize departments while the company invests more resources in security and in its core enterprise networking business. Because the technology sector is now experiencing a cold winter, California officials announced on the 16th that California may have a $25 billion budget deficit next year. California taxes the wealthy more than other U.S. states, and the recession means that the wealthy earn less money than they used to. That's exactly why California is often the first state in the U.S. to have budget problems when the economy starts to tank. An Outlook report released by the Legislative Analyst's Office on the 16th noted that the S&P 500 has fallen more than 17% this year and that California's revenue is currently $41 billion below expectations. The report estimated a deficit of less than $41 billion because some of those revenue losses were offset by lower spending. Legislative analyst Gabriel Patek says that the deficit is actually quite large, but they don't see it as a budget crisis yet. But it's clear that California will have to cut more benefits if the economy continues to decline or if high-tech companies continue to make massive layoffs. Talking about budget cuts, recently, huge amounts of Democrat donations also vanished overnight with the bankruptcy of the FTX founder, who was the second biggest election donor after George Soros. We covered the story of the FTX fiasco on our membership site. I left the link in the description below, and here's the trailer. So how long does it take to take a billionaire and turn him into a negative billionaire? The answer is much faster than you think, and judging by a recent bankruptcy filing, it's likely to take the time of a tweet. Yes, I'm going to be talking about Sam Bankman-Fried, the founder of the crypto exchange FTX, who went from being worth $16 billion to just $1. We'll go into more details on our membership site at frontpageshow.com. I hope to see you there. Okay, let's get back into it. Despite NATO's assertion that the missiles which hit Poland this week were not intentionally fired by Ukraine and that Russia is still ultimately responsible, Ukrainian President Zelensky has insisted that he has no doubt that Ukraine was not responsible for the strike. But facts are facts. Biden told reporters upon his return to the White House from his trip to Asia that that's not what the evidence says. 2 people were killed on Tuesday, November 15th, when a missile struck a village near the Ukrainian border in NATO member Poland. Polish President Andrzej Duda said on Wednesday, November 16th, according to the information we and our allies have, this is a Soviet-made S-300 rocket, an old rocket. And there's no evidence that it was launched from the Russian side. It was most likely launched by Ukrainian air defense forces. NATO Secretary General Jens Stoltenberg also told the media on Wednesday that the military alliance's preliminary analysis indicates that the incident was most likely caused by a Ukrainian anti-aircraft missile. However, Zelensky said on Ukrainian television on Wednesday, based on our military reports, I believe it was a Russian missile. Oleksiy Danilov, the head of Ukraine's National Security and Defense Council, tweeted that Kiev would like to see relevant evidence held by its allies. A diplomat from a NATO country who was in Kiev told the Financial Times, "This is getting ridiculous. The Ukrainians are destroying our confidence in them. Nobody is blaming Ukraine, and they are openly lying. This is more destructive than the missile." When asked on Wednesday whether Ukraine could participate in the joint investigation, Polish President Duda told reporters that the procedures are conducted by Polish and U.S. experts, and for anyone to participate in these procedures, both sides must agree. Zelensky's attitude has angered some conservatives. Benny Johnson, an American conservative political commentator, tweeted, "Ukraine leaders lied to try and initiate full-blown World War III." And that's a wrap for this episode. Thank you so much for your support of Front Page. Every like, comment, and share helps more people to see the truth. We've heard from many of our audience members that they don't get notifications of our videos anymore from YouTube. So please follow us on Telegram, Gab, and Getter for the latest updates. Okay, this is our show for today. Thank you so much for tuning in. If you like what you heard today, please don't forget to like this video and share it with your friends and family, because everybody deserves to know the truth. Again, thank you for watching Front Page, and we will see you next time.